Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my video series. This is Chris, and it's good to see you. Glad that you are watching my video. We are starting our work in the second unit of algebra that I teach to my students. And today we are going to talk about slope. So the last video in my series, we talked about the coordinate grid, and we discussed basically how that was formed and how we use it, how we put points on, how we assign coordinates to points, things like that. So now we're going to put that into play, okay? And so the next skill is called slope. Now, you've heard of the word slope before, I'm sure, and if you thought about where you've heard of the word, slope is something that we use to describe a lot of times like a hill. How steep is that slope, you know, or you can think about a ski slope as it's going down because you're skiing. And so it's the word slope and the math term slope is related to what we know slope is. So technically, the definition for slope is a numerical description of a line. That's what I like to call it. So I'm going to write that down. Okay, so there it is. I'll just leave that up there so we can keep that in mind as we are working through today what slope is. A numerical description of a line. So using numbers to describe a line. Okay, and so when I'm talking about a line, I'm talking about when we're looking at a coordinate grid, and you know, one of the last skills that we worked on was making a line in our main packet. So you put points on, they line up, you draw your straight line. But one thing that you're going to see we use a lot is a number that describes that line. Okay, and how could we use a number to describe a line? Well, basically, we're going to use a number to describe where is the line going and how fast is it going there. Okay, that's basically the two characteristics to slope. So I'll go ahead and write that down. Okay, so again, slope describes where a line is going and how fast it's going there. So first, let's talk about where. Where is a line going? So if you think about whenever you see a graph on television or in a newspaper or a textbook, it's describing something, you know, something about where it's going. And we read from left to right. Okay, so when we're talking about reading graphs, I want you to read them from left to right. And so when we look at a line from left to right and we see that the line is going up, that's an increase, right? If it's going up, it's increasing. And when we think about increasing, we think about adding or plus or positive. Okay. Likewise, if the line is dropping from left to right, we can think about that as decreasing or losing, dropping. Okay. Now, what if something is not increasing or decreasing? It's just maintaining. That's something a little different. And so that actually is not positive or negative. And so if you think about, there's only one number in our number system that is not positive or negative, and that's 0. Okay. And so if a line is moving straight across your page or a graph, not increasing or not decreasing, then it's very easy what the slope is. Slope is 0. It has no slope. Okay, just like that would not be a ski slope if it's straight level ground. Okay, so think about that. A straight line has a slope of 0. If it's going up from left to right, it's positive. If it's going down, it's negative. So that's answers the first question about where the line is going, increasing or decreasing. It's either a positive number or it's a negative number or it's 0. Okay. The second description for slope is telling how fast is the line moving in that direction. Okay, So maybe it's increasing, but there's differences in increasing, right? Just like there's different ski slopes. Some of them are really steep, some are not as steep, but still a ski slope, still dropping. And so we need to describe how fast or how steep the slope is, all right? So we do that with something called rise over run. So this is actually our numbers for slope. We compare 2 points on a line. And so I'm going to draw a coordinate grid and just kind of give you an example of what I mean by rise over run. So give me just a second. All right, I'm back. So I've drawn a coordinate grid to the best of my ability. My x-axis, my y-axis, I have drawn, just made up some points and labeled each one of them here, okay? 2, 1, 4, 2, 6, 4 makes a straight line, all right? And so when we're talking about slope, we are trying to describe to whoever's reading or looking at the problem what this line is doing. Where is it going? How fast is it going? Or how steep is the slope? And so again, there's 2 ways we do that. We tell where's it going. So look at this line here and tell me whether you think that line is increasing or decreasing, okay? Now, not everybody sees it the same. That's one thing that I've learned in my teaching is sometimes people look at this and they say it's going both directions. Look, there's an arrow there and an arrow there, and they're not wrong. But that's why it's so important for you to understand we need to read this from left to right. It has to be a standard way of reading it. So we all do it the same way. So start from the left and move to the right. As you go to the right, what is this line doing? Okay. So one way, and there's different strategies. If you're struggling, reach out to me and I can tell you another way to do it if this way doesn't work. But you can take like a book or a ruler and run it across your page and see which way it's going if you're having trouble seeing it. You can find the line wherever it's at. In this case, the line is here. And go to the left side of the line and then follow it. Which way is your pencil going? In this one, it is going up. Had my line started here, maybe it was going down, okay? So you need to see it from left to right. So this line is increasing. It's going up. So that's my first step. If I want to find the slope of this line, give it a numerical description, I need to see that it's increasing. So my slope is going to be a positive number, plus. Okay? The second part of describing the line is telling how fast it's moving. Okay? So here's where the rise and the run comes in. And it really doesn't matter which 2 points you pick when you're looking at the line. Pick 2 points, okay? I think it's easy to just pick the 2 closest. So closest to each other, I should say. So here's 2 points, and I'm going to describe what happens from one to the next, okay? So first, I'm going to start with, let's say the bottom one. I'm going to rise, and then I'm going to run. So I'm going to rise to the level of the next one. So I'm going to go up to the level of the next point, and then I'm going to go over. Basically, I'm making a little triangle there. I like to call those slope triangles. So when I do that, there's my rise and my run. They're both there. I just need to count. So this goes from 1 here up to 2. So it goes up 1. My rise is 1. Goes up 1, and then it goes over from 2 to 4. So it runs 2. Okay, let me move this. So this was over 2, up 1. This was at 1, and it goes up from 1 to 2. So it goes up 1. And then from this point over, it goes from what was 2 to 4. 2 to 4 means it goes over 2. Rise 1, run 2. So it has a slope of 1/2. Okay, it's positive because it's increasing. It rises 1 and runs 2. Now let's take a look at a different example. And I think this might be a little bit more clear when we start doing some of the worksheets. I know you probably can't see this very well in the video, especially if you're using your phone, but I think it will make more sense when we look at a worksheet. So let's go from 2, 1. You know what? I think that should be 8, 4, sorry. From this point to this point. So rise and run. When you're using a graph to find the slope, just draw your triangle, your 2 dimensions, okay, from your rise and your run, and then you just have to count. So this is going from 1 to 4, from 1 to 4, which means it increases 3, it rises 3, and then it runs from 2 to 8, which is 6, okay? So it's got a rise of 3 and a run of 6. So take a look at this. When we use these 2 points, we see the rise and the run is 3/6. Okay, it's different than 1/2, right? Kind of. It's really the same. It's just this 3 times. Up 1/2, up 1/2, up 1/2. So 3/6, 3/6, look at it like a fraction. 3/6 is still 1/2. Okay, it just happened 3 times. It went up once, over twice, up once, over twice, up once, over twice, which would be the total of 3 rises to 6 runs. Okay, sorry, that was confusing. But let's go take a look at the worksheet, see if maybe I can make more sense of that. But here's the main thing I want you to get. 2 ways to describe a line on a graph. Where it's going, how fast. Is it increasing or decreasing, positive or negative? How fast is it getting there? That's the rise over the run. So I think the rise over the run might be easier to see on a worksheet. So let's take a look at what I've got for you today.